Welcome again, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of Vinny Presents. And today I present to you actor, writer, and filmmaker Stephen Kelly. We are so happy to have you, Stephen, and he's tuning in right from Los Angeles. So we have a little bit of a time
Yeah.
difference. Good morning to you, Stephen. How you doing, buddy? Welcome to the
Good
show.
morning, Vince. We're good. Yeah, no, it's 7:30 here, a bright sunny day in LA, and all good, man. Thank you. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
I have to admit, there's always a tad bit of jealousy whenever I talk to my buddies out there in LA and they tell me how nice the weather is. But I can't complain because it is nice here on the East Coast as
Yeah.
well.
No, it's funny because when we get a cloudy day in the fall or we get rain, it's like, wow, it's kind of cool because the thing is, they say it doesn't rain in California and in Southern California in summer, it doesn't. We won't get one day. We won't get one day of rain until probably October.
Yeah, that's the one thing, man.
It's crazy. It's crazy.
There's no perfect place, unfortunately. But listen, Stephen, we're here to talk today about some of your exciting projects. And we were discussing a little bit about it before we started. And at one project, which is particularly exciting for me because we have a common friend who was on the show, Mr. Frank Mancuso, who's wonderful maker and the actor, of course. But let's talk about it now, Stephen. Let's jump right in. Tell the audience a little bit about yourself, and then we'll get to the projects.
Sure. So I was born and raised in New York City. Came out here, worked on Wall Street, worked on the New York Commodity Exchange, did several things in sales and business. Came out here to California in the 90s to pursue an acting and writing career. Was here a couple of years, got my SAG card, everything was going great, was a bartender at Planet Hollywood, doing the whole, LA thing. Then got in a bad motorcycle accident and couldn't walk for 6 months. Ran out of money, so I had to go back and get a real job. So, and this was like 1999. So I went back to the corporate world. I'd written a couple of screenplays, so all that again got my SAG card. All that was put on the back burner because I got married, bought a house, have a son. Did the whole thing, right? That whole thing. And then in it's around COVID, man. It was like 2022. I found out about an actor said, the people do reels now. Well, what's a reel? Because there weren't any reels 20 years prior, right? So found this company out here in SoCal that shot 3 different reels for me. I wrote them all. And then it's just so funny how things sort of happen. So then there was a local play here in LA that was casting. And I hadn't done a play in 20 some years. So I'm like, well, what's the worst that can happen? I can get cast in it. Well, I got cast in it. So this was during COVID. So we're rehearsing with masks on, the whole bit. It was Lilies of the Field. Great play. In fact, it was the movie that Sidney Poitier was the first African-American actor to win an Oscar. So from that, I met an actress in the play, Argentine actress, and wanted to do a short on a couple going through a divorce. So I pitched it to her, wrote it, filmed No Mas, put it in film festivals, did another one called The Righteous, did another one called I Can't Save You. And then through that, I met Frank Mancuso because in the film festival world, all of a sudden you get the awards. Oh, look, in Rome, here are all the award winners. And I'd see Frank's name. Like, oh, look, there's Frank in Rome. Look, there's Frank in London. Look, there's Frank in Boise. Look, there's Frank in New Jersey. So I reached out to Frank, had an idea about doing a short with an Italian mob and an Irish guy. And Mikey, that's how we came up with Mikey Blue Eyes, for our new film. So, yeah, that's in a roundabout way, kind of crazy how things have happened. And then also started promoting the movies on social media. I'd written a sonnet 30 years ago, and I put it on Twitter. A publisher read it and said, have you ever thought about writing a children's book? No. So I did a little research, hit her back on a text message and said, okay, what are you looking for? 8 to 11-year-old. Okay, how long's the word count? Sure enough, I wrote it in 2 days, and now I'm a published author. It's called The Adventures of Rex and Daisy. It's on Amazon. It's a children's book. It's very positive, very inclusive, and it's crazy. So
That's fantastic. I mean, that's really You condensed a lot of years and a lot of creativity in just a
Yeah.
short few minutes, but it also it just shows also your ability to come back. I mean, it's that horrible, horrible accident, but
Yeah.
perseverance, all about perseverance. Now,
Yeah.
also, those that are watching, make sure you check in the description box, and we'll be able to have a link there for that children's book and your other projects as well. Now, Steve, that's crazy how you found Frank, and I know that Frank is a voracious submitter to film festivals,
Yeah. Yeah.
which,
He is voracious. Yeah.
which is fantastic. And
Yeah.
come to know Frank, I've learned that that's the way to do it. Keep just like yourself, man. Keep
Yeah.
posting because you never know who's watching. Just like that publisher saw your sonnet, just like you saw Frank.
Yeah.
It all works out that way. It's amazing.
Yeah. No, that's really because he just again, you start to see the same names in the same festivals after a while. Like even international names. And then I literally reached out to him right around Easter this year, sent him a message on Instagram. I never talked to Frank before, ever. Just sent him a message because, the writers and filmmakers start to follow one another, right? And then, we're complimentary when someone wins, hey, congratulations. But it's all Instagram or Twitter or whatever. There's nothing like, there's no telephone call, there's none of that. And I literally hit him up on that weekend. And because I saw his work, I'm like, and I'm a New York guy too. So I'm like, I want to do a short, just kind of like a soprano scene in a bar where, two guys sitting there having beef. And I dinged him on Instagram. He's like, okay. Like he didn't know what to say. Like, who is, like, he knew me, but he doesn't know me. So I wrote a couple of pages, sent it to him. He goes, okay, not bad. But then as I started writing it, it took a life of its own, became a full on story. So now we have, I think, a 16-member cast. We've got Artie Pasquale, who was in The Sopranos. He's playing the Italian family patriarch. We have Joe Cirillo, who was in Ghostbusters and Godfather. He plays a restaurant owner. Frank Mancuso's in it. Yeah, it's just been crazy. I was in New York actually about a month ago in Massapequa. I met the cast and we did some interviews to promote the film, and it's a whirlwind, man. It really is. So all good.
It's fantastic. And I could, well, another person that I interviewed not too long ago, Artie Pasquale. What a
Yeah.
fantastic and human, just all around, just a great guy. Artie's really cool, man. So that's just going to lend more a dimension of really, I guess, authenticity, I guess you would say, to the project.
Well, like Joe Cirillo, who was in Ghostbusters, is retired, and Frank sent him the script, and he said, "You know what? I'm going to come out of retirement to do this role." And I met him, and he told me that we went to a diner prior before we shot the interviews, and I was just sort of like, "Wow!" Like, it's very humbling to have people like him say that and hear the cast members comment on the script, because I never met them. I'd seen their reels, and Frank and I discussed, does this person look good? Yeah, that looks good for the role, this and the other. But to hear them talk about the script like live in the interviews was really kind of cool. And meeting, Joe Cirillo. In fact, I did see your podcast with Artie Pasquale, and I was like, wow, like he's going to be in it. I better bring my A game, because I've got a couple of scenes with him at the end that are pretty powerful. So he's a pretty intimidating guy in a good, in a very good way, but he's got a presence to him, right?
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
And I've noticed on social media. I mean, you're adding it almost seems like daily, but you're adding some more and more great cast members. So I wish you a lot of luck with again Mikey Blue Eyes.
Thank you.
Let's switch gears for just a moment and tell us about the children's book. I mean, how long has that been out? And tell us more about that.
Yeah, so it's called The Adventures of Rex and Daisy. It's about a family in Denver. It's a set of twins, 8-year-old twins, mom and dad, and 2 dogs. The 2 dogs can talk in my world, in my book world, and they help the kids with problems and issues. Now, in this world, not all dogs can talk, but they make the point to tell the kids that, look, just because we can talk and the dogs across the street can't, doesn't mean we're better. It just means we're different. So the first story is about Henry. He's a 8-year-old kid playing baseball. And I went through this with my son, who's now 20. He played youth sports, played baseball, played football, all the way up through high school. It's really about dealing with success and dealing with failure. So the two major themes in the book are, and it's going to be a series of books, because the next book is going to be about the girl Emily, excuse me, and then other issues. But the first two main themes of the book are, number one, in terms of Henry, because he's upset about not getting some hits, right? Baseball's a hard sport, right? So two things. The first theme to me is, okay, are you ready to go? Yes. Okay. Did you try your best? Yes. Well, at that point, when you're 8, 9 years old, I mean, what else can you ask for, right? You're ready to go and you tried your best. I mean, you could apply that. I've had coaches now read the book and say, this is a lesson for me as a coach in terms of how to coach kids. And look, you could get up in front of a sales meeting and say the same thing to your sales org. Okay, guys, we ready to go? Yes. You try your best? Yes. And then you deal with the actual success or failure of it, right? I mean, at that point, we're much more, as we get older, we're much more results driven, right? In world and business and so on and so forth. So it was it was fantastic to write, because I'm an animal lover. We have a dog who looks just like one of the dogs. In fact, my publisher she said, send me pictures of you and your family, and my wife, my son, my dog. And she said, oh, that's Daisy. I said, well, I only have one dog. She was, well, just make a male version of Daisy. She's a Doberman mix. She's a sweet dog. So it's fantastic. I've gone to local schools here and read to children, and the response has been fantastic. It's so looking to get into school systems, and it's just so rewarding. You get up there and talk to kids about it and see their eyes and they light up, and just their response. It's really cool. It's very heartwarming for me.
That's fantastic. What a contribution too. I mean, and the beauty of being a writer, and I'm an amateur screenwriter, but I mean, as far as being a writer of what you did with this children's book, I mean, that's going to make an impact on countless little lives that you'll never know. So it's really cool, man. It's quite a legacy.
It's funny, because I have one of my son's ex-football coaches in high school is a kindergarten teacher, and I see him at the gym all the time. And the book had just came out, and I told him about it. And he goes, oh, get me a copy. So I gave him a copy. He goes, you got to come in and read to my kids. They're kindergarten. I go, they're little. He goes, that doesn't matter. And it was just fantastic hearing them, like, their views on it. And, and then he took that same thing, the same two principles in the book. Okay, guys, today we're going to try to do our best, right? We're going to be ready, and we're going to be prepared, and we're going to do our best. And the kids were like, yeah, let's do that. So it was a blast. And then afterwards, I did a combined, like, 3rd to 6th graders. So there was about 50 kids in the room. They asked me all kinds of questions. How old are you?
I'm
What's
45.
shoe size? No, they asked me that. How old are you?
I'm sorry, Steve. You're so compelling. I thought you were asking me.
He said, how old are you? What's your shoe size? I'm like, none of your business, none of your business. No, but it was funny. And then afterwards, they said to me, can we have your autograph? I'm like, oh my gosh. Like, me, I'm nobody. But it was just so sweet that they were, like, moved and compelled. And then so many people that buy the book locally here, I sign it for them, because a lot of people I sign it to their kids. So if you had a kid, Mary, who's 9, I sign, dear Mary, hope you enjoy the book. So it's great, man. It's really cool. It's a really cool feeling.
That's fantastic. It really is. All right, let's go back to the movie business now.
Yeah.
So it's very exciting, obviously, with Mikey Blue Eyes. What do you see, like, in the future? What's your goal for this? Where do you want to see it end up? I mean, obviously, we want it to, the highest peaks we can. But what's your goal?
You know what, Vince? It's my first short was 10 minutes or 9.5 minutes. The second short was super short, 2.5 minutes. The last one was 4.5 minutes. Mikey Blue Eyes is going to be 40 to 42 minutes. So that can stream on all platforms, as well as be in film festivals. The next project I have coming up is I'm doing a documentary. And I'm not a documentarian by trade, but it's someone that I know, some guy from the Bronx that I grew up with. He was a teacher in my high school. He retired as a battalion chief in FDNY, and he was actually in 9/11. He's one of the last firemen out. So I contacted him and said, listen, we know one another. We grew up together. I grew up in Manhattan, but I went to school in the Bronx, high school and college in the Bronx. And I said, look, you first responders, you guys have jobs to where you make a difference in people's lives. You do it on a daily basis, right? I don't have that kind of job. I've been either an actor, writer, or a sales guy. I don't have that really kind of job. I said, you guys do that on a consistent basis. I said, I want to pay homage to that, in terms of your journey. It's not a 9/11 documentary. That's part of it because it's part of his life, but it's really about how they serve us. Because I've had first responders in my life. My brother passed away in an accident a couple of years ago in Las Vegas. And the way the doctors and nurses treated my brother for 72 hours, it was like they knew him, like he was a family member. And he hit his head. He was brain dead. I went out to Vegas, was there for 3 days. And at the end of it, they did all the procedures and they said, okay, we're going to pull the plug. So they pulled the plug and there were 2 doctors in the room and I think 4 nurses. And I said, look, you guys do this on a regular basis and on a daily basis. And I don't. So you treated me and my brother like you knew us, like we were family. I said, you will forget me, but I won't forget you. And with that, one of the nurses came over and gave me a hug. It was a very moving moment on both sides. And that stuck with me. How people like that in that world touch us. And then they do it the next day, right? That's their job. That's their job. To treat people, take care of people, whether you're PD, fire, doctors, and then you just do it. And most of us don't have that kind of role. And I said, look, this is what I really want to do. I was completely inspired by it because that guy still work out with, he's retired, LA County Fire. And he was telling me the stories about helping this person, helping that person, saving this person. My brother-in-law is LA City Fire inspector here. Same thing. And they all say the same thing. Then it's really interesting. Guy in New York, my brother-in-law, same thing. They use the word calling. Their jobs, their careers have been a calling to them. So it literally, like that's what happens to me. A light bulb goes off in my head and I'm like, I want to do this. So that's it. So it'll be an hour documentary. I'm going to shoot it in New York and it's just going to be me and this battalion chief sitting across and walking through his journey, his life. Right? Talking about a ton of things. And plus the fact we know one another. He was my swim coach in high school. His younger brother was in my grade as well. So there's that connection. I could interview anyone here in LA, or my brother-in-law, but for him, I grew up with this guy. And this is going to be like 2 guys in a bar sitting across outside side table, talking about the Bronx and talking about his journey. So yeah, so that's, sorry, I didn't mean to be too long-winded on that, but that's my next thing. I've got a couple of shorts running. Rex and Daisy. That's another book's going to be in the process. It's really about figuring out what to do and then lining it up. Because it becomes, the deal. It becomes a point of time. Getting all these things done and what's now what's the next priority and the time frame, so on and so forth. So I'm excited about it, man. I don't know. This has been my life, especially in the arts. I don't know what's around the corner because something will then come up, will trigger something like the book, like meeting Frank Mancuso, and then all of a sudden come up with Mikey Blue Eyes in 2 days and writing it, and all of a sudden, this new cast. So I just don't know what's around the corner. I just literally keep going. That's it.
And Steve, listen, it's just basically to make the metaphor, you're in that boat and the wind is just pushing in different directions. As long as you
Yeah.
steer properly, you'll be all right.
Yeah. All good, man.
You said calling. Yes, I agree with that whole idea. And because obviously it's a vocation, and thank God that we have people that have that calling or vocation, because especially people in the medical field and first responders. I mean, we owe so much. We owe everything to these people. And I don't know how to do it. I'll be frank with you. I don't know how to do it, but thank God that they do it, and God bless all of them. Well, Steve, it sounds like you got your hands full, but that's a good thing. I always say I'm always grateful for all my hectic plans and obligations, because that means we're getting somewhere, and I think you're going in bigger and better places. And I think those autographs that are given to those kindergarten kids are going to be worth something.
Oh man, that's we'll see about that, man. But no, it's all about just trying to put out good work. And when you have projects like the book or like this documentary, making a difference, making an impact, a positive impact. That's what I like. It's very rewarding and fulfilling. So
I can't agree more. And I think your calling has presented itself pretty well, and keep doing the great things that you're doing, Stephen. I'm a big fan of yours, and obviously of Frank's, and I wish you guys a lot of luck with Mikey Blue Eyes and all your projects, your documentary and your book and everything. And again, folks, if you haven't already, please make sure you're following him on social media. All right, you can find him on Instagram. We'll have the links in the description box. Get the book. I think it's something that is crucial. We need more and more of that positive element, especially with our young children today. And of course, stay tuned for Mikey Blue Eyes. Any last words, Stephen?
Yeah, I just created a website. It's StephenMichaelKelly.com. And that has all the links to the films on there. It's got the book there. You can actually buy the book on Amazon. You could buy the book on the website as well. And it's got a press release on Mikey Blue Eyes as well. So so I'll keep that up and running, and we just keep going. Man, I really appreciate your time. I really do.
No, it's my pleasure. And I can't wait to see the finished product. And I wish you guys truly a lot of luck. Again, thank you again, Steve, for joining us. Our guest has been Stephen Kelly. Check out the description box. Make sure you're following and support him again. And as always, thanks for subscribing to me, and we'll see you next time.